we play a game?
Why, yes, I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Getting geeky in Little Rock, it's Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love. I'm your host, Shane Stacks. Thanks so much for joining. Whether you're listening on 101.1 FM The Answer on Saturday, July 13th at 1 p.m. Central in the Little Rock, Central Arkansas area, or if you're listening at the same time on the live stream online at 1011fmtheanswer.com, it's glad to have you. Or if you're listening delayed by podcast or on Krypton Radio or on YouTube or one of the other ways that we go out after the live show, I'm just glad to have you. I love podcasts. I love talk radio. I love live radio. I love it all. And I'm just glad to have you no matter how you're joining. Now, want to point out if you're listening delayed, like by podcast or Krypton Radio or YouTube or something, then the show notes for today's show will be up at shaneplays.com. That's ShanePlays.com. That's shaneplays.com. And last week's show, for example, is up on the blog and out there in the wild. And that was episode 191, Wild Stars Rising. And that was with fantasy author and comic book store owner and Edgar Rice Burroughs and Tarzan expert Michael Tierney, and P. Alexander, the publisher of Cursova Adventure Fiction magazine. There's a lot of pulp fiction and stuff like that. I want to point out they're both sponsors of the show, but that's not why I had them on. It was just a really good show. Enjoyed talking with them about just the crazy fun, out of comic book novel, sci-fi fantasy craziness that is Wild Stars. So today we've got a returning guest who longtime listeners of the show will definitely know, but we originally had him on to talk about, and this is way back, one of the very first shows I ever had in 2015 is David Baity, who at the time was working on a game called MegaWars, but is now and it's not the same game. It's continued to be improved upon and refined. But it also has a new name called Galaxicus. So, we're going to be talking about today, among other cool stuff, including some space news. But David Baity, welcome back to Shane Plays.
Thanks, Shane. Appreciate it.
Boy, that sounds really fresh and spontaneous considering that we're re-recording the first 30 minutes of the show. Because we were recording and I was like, let me make sure I hit record. And I looked up and nope. So, but you're a good sport about it. And as we were saying, some shows will do an entire dry run before they record live. And this isn't a live show, but we're recording what's going to be broadcast on July 13th ahead of time. And so I think that's a first. I think that's the first time I've ever gone that long and realized that I hadn't recorded, but you're a good sport about it. And
we're good friends. We've been friends for a long time, man. So I'm good with it. I
appreciate that. Well, speaking of that naturally, kind of leads me into what I was saying earlier that, you've been on the show more than once, but one of my very first shows was episode 12 in August of 2015. We had a show where we talked about your game, MegaWars at the time, now Galaxicus, and we also talked about Star Trek.
Yes.
And so that was the first time you actually came on the show. And then you came on again, for example, episode 138 in March of 2018. And that was the Mars or Bust show where we talked about SpaceX and Elon Musk. And, he had just launched his cherry red Roadster into space on the top of a Falcon Heavy SpaceX rocket.
Yep.
And that was crazy big stuff. And we had a lot, and
then I was also a guest. I called in when you were doing the Axonar.
That's right. With Axonar. Well, in fact, it was you.
Alex Peters. Actually.
Yeah. Alex, it was you that turned me on to the Axonar thing and story in the first place. And so I've had more than one show about it. And then, and his name escapes me. I can't believe this because he's
Alex.
No, it's not Alex Peters. It's there's the individual that he's wrote a book with Alec, and is it Alec or Alex? We'll say Alex. And then he's written a book with him, and he covers a lot of the Star Trek fan film news. Anyway, I've been talking with him about having him on as well. And he did a lot of coverage of the Axonar lawsuit. Fan Film Factor is the name of the blog. We've actually been emailing again recently. Let's see.
I still have not watched any of Discovery. I am still upset at CBS.
Yeah, I know. It's Jonathan Lane, Mr. Jonathan Lane, Fan Film Factor. He's been reaching out to me. And then, he's got a Kickstarter he's involved with. And also he's just always really knowledgeable on the fan films that are out there. But yeah, I was just talking to him, and I don't want to, this isn't a Discovery show, but I was just talking to somebody today, and they're, they came up and said, I watched both seasons of Discovery, and I just didn't really like it. And I'm like, well, I don't want Star Trek to fail. I said, it's just not the Star Trek I want. And, the second season, I had heard they were going to get away from some of the negative stuff and get more into the Trek as we would know, or that I would know. And that kind of perked my ears up. And then I found out that it was a lot of that season was going to be about section 33? The kind of black, and that is just as far from Star Trek as, that to me is as far from the vision of what I want Star Trek to be as it can be. However, I want to say again, if you're out there and you're watching Discovery and you like it, more power to you. I'm going to check out Picard. I hope that.
Now I'm excited about Picard. I was a big fan of Picard's.
Yeah.
And I think that the role that he played in that, of course, now my favorite, of course, is Deep Space Nine.
Right.
But I like what they did with Picard, and I think it could be very interesting if they do it correctly.
Yeah, we'll see. I hope that it's not negative. Right? For some reason, there's this, and it's not just Star Trek. There's a lot like the Titans TV show on DC Universe streaming. It's a well done show, but it's just incredibly dark and violent, and I don't understand why. Like, what are they gaining? By taking it that direction. So I don't know. But the guy that came up to me today, he's actually been on the show before. I won't throw out his name because I didn't ask him if I could share this on air. But he's 25. So he's right in that sweet spot of what who they're trying to get with this hip, crazy, dark Star Trek, right?
Yes.
And he's like, I don't like it. He's like, that's not Star Trek, and I'm like, okay, I've done a couple of shows on it, and I've attempted to give it a chance. And, as I told him today, if suddenly season 3 came out and everybody was like, wow, this is really good, you should check it out, I'd give it another chance. Like I said, I don't want Star Trek to fail. But
I don't want Star Trek to fail either, but burn it. What they did to Axonar wasn't fair.
It wasn't cool. From a corporate perspective, because Star Trek would not be what it is without the fans. No, there's no other franchise that its fans have kept it alive like Star Trek has. And, when they turned on the fans with the fan film guidelines, and went after that, what? I'm here to be positive, baby. I'm here to be positive. So, I'm here to be positive. So, let me ask you this, and I don't want to go down what the specifics are, but let me ask you this.
Okay.
Cause we're going to talk about your Galaxicus game, which is now in early access on Steam.
Yep.
Up until recently, it was, MegaWars, which we've talked, in fact, for quite a while, you were an active sponsor of the show, and we ran ads constantly for MegaWars and helped get the information out there. But, you've changed the name recently to Galaxicus, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. But since the last time you gave us a major update on MegaWars, which was probably when you came on in March of 2018 to talk about Elon Musk, since that time, have there been significant changes to the game?
Yes.
There have. Huge. Yes. Okay, so hold on to that, and when we come back, or when we get back to that topic, I want to unpack those, but there is stuff to talk about. It's not just a rehash and a, hey, go check out the game. I mean, there's new exciting things to talk about. What I did want to give you the chance to talk about right now is because people are probably curious, why did you change the name from Galaxicus to or from MegaWars to Galacticus? Because MegaWars, as we've talked about on the show more than once, has a rich history going all the way back to like the mid or early 1980s when it first started on CompuServe, sort of a text-based, and it's not official or anything, but it was inspired by Star Trek. And
actually, they had to scrub the Star Trek out of it.
Right. But it doesn't have any Star Trek IP with it now, but it was inspired by Star Trek. It was a text-based galactic conquest in a big war thing where people fought for the title of, I think, Emperor, wasn't it?
That's correct.
Right. And then it went up to MegaWars version 3. You did a version of MegaWars in Silverlight, yes. Which it's not in Silverlight now. But again, what you were telling me before, you were like, can I get nerdy? And I'm like, yeah, man, it's Shane Plays. So why did you do it in Silverlight, that one version?
Well, Silverlight's really, really good because, and Microsoft, killed it several years ago. But the best part of it was you could have the same set of code on the server and the client. So it allowed you to share that data stream on both sides, and you weren't writing part of it in HTML and another part in JavaScript and another part in C++. You could do it all in C#, which made the code base really clean and really easily. And one nice thing that happened is when we went to Unity, because it was C#, we were able to move code across, and it was clean.
Nice. So now you're in Unity.
Yes.
Okay. And that, if people can hear those little noises, that's me goobering around with the Galaxicus client that I've gotten off Steam and installed, and I'm playing around with actually as we're talking for the show. And I don't know, was it a year or two ago where you asked me to do a little bit of not even beta testing? You were just like, hey,
alpha. It was alpha.
Yeah, you're like, hey, can you come in here and just play around with it and give me your impressions? So since then, You were
really mean too.
I wasn't either.
No, actually, we incorporated quite a few of your suggestions. So,
I just let it be what it was. That's what alpha testing is for.
That's exactly what it is.
And any profanities or curse you, David Baity, were completely unintentional. So
it was fine.
Yeah, I've just clicked sign up for the war right now, and I've hit launch game. So anyway, but let's okay. So you did it in Silverlight, which I have also heard from many people that Silverlight was a really nice thing, not just for developing games, but I remember there was an Olympics that was done completely in Silverlight, on the online portion, and it worked really well. So
I use Silverlight for manufacturing companies. We did applications that ran on the shop floor in Silverlight, and we were able to do video in them and all kinds of cool stuff. So Silverlight was a multi-purpose tool.
Right. Yeah, it was cool, but now you're running on Unity, which most games these days are done in either Unity or what's the other big game engine out there? Unreal. Yeah. And then Amazon has a game engine that I can't remember the name of it. I had Neil Halford on and we talked about it, and it sounded really cool. But
it's Crytek. They bought Crytek.
That's what and their goal is to really not only to have a good game engine. I wish I could remember. Brickyard, is it Lumberyard? That's it.
Lumberyard is what they renamed it to.
Right.
And if we're going to keep on trivia, that is what Star Citizen is using now.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't think Star Citizen is vaporware, but oh my goodness, is that game taking a long time to come out? So
it's a big game. I mean, it is huge what they're trying to accomplish, and it's beautiful. I'll tell you. It's from a developer standpoint. I wish I had $200 million. I mean, to do things.
Right. Exactly. And there's been drama around that, but again, we're not here to be negative. We're here to be positive.
I'm not being negative at all.
No, I was saying I could take it that direction, but I'm not going to. So tell us why the name change from MegaWars with that rich history to Galaxicus.
Well, the first thing is search engines. It makes it very difficult to find MegaWars. I mean, if we did a search on it, my pages would come up first.
You mean there's a business side to making games? Yeah. No, yeah. David, no. Yeah, it's all butterflies and unicorns.
Yes, it is, and it's all metrics. It's all about the metrics.
It's all butterflies and unicorns. Well, I think there's also a legal issue that MegaWars is harder to. That's more of a generic thing.
Yes.
So
because if you look, you go out. I just lost the name. Minecraft. They have a mega war that they do. Junkyard Wars. You don't know if you ever saw that. Do you remember the show Junkyard Wars?
I used to watch it a lot. In fact, I did a search recently for MegaWars, and there was a Junkyard Wars hit from 2003 that came up.
Because they had a Mega Wars and Junkyard Wars. And so trying to protect the name would be very difficult. The name itself, megawars.com, and as everybody knows, if you don't have the .com, they can't find you because we had the megawars.net. And if we got a hold of the owner, it's in one of those things off in the Cayman Islands. The guy's got the name, wants to make money off of it. And he wanted $20,000 for the name. It's kind of like, dude,
a mere pittance. That's pocket change.
Pittance, yes, exactly. Yeah, $20,000, I could take over half the planet. But
that's a mere. I mean, a big game developer like you've got $20,000 between the cushions on your couch, man.
Oh yes,
you're just a big meanie that you won't.
I don't want to part with that.
Yeah, what a meanie.
No, we're an independent game developer. No one will give us money.
Well, and you're operating under the Crimson Leaf banner, right? So Crimson Leaf Games. The game is Galaxicus, Galaxicus. It's currently in early access on Steam. I think you told me you're on like 4,000 wish lists or something like that.
Yeah, we're on 4,000 wish lists at this point. So, I mean, that is people that's waiting for it to come out of early access at this point. So we've got about 75 players right now that are helping us in this final stage to make sure everything's running good, and we're trickling in a couple players every day. So It's kind of fun.
Nice. So, we'll talk more about Galaxicus here in a little bit. We're gonna kind of deviate off into a couple other topics here. But before I do that, just if people aren't familiar with MegaWars, or if they haven't heard us talk about the game before on the show, Galaxicus is a 30-day resetting space MMO where you basically attempt to exploit resources, and through clever diplomacy or through other kinds of diplomacy or outright warfare, you attempt to take over as much of the galaxy as you can.
That is correct.
And it resets every 30 days. So you don't have the problem of I'm coming into the game and these other people have been around for years. So everybody starts on the same footing every 30 days. Or whenever a war starts, there's, in the war lasts 30 days. And other than experience and craftiness, that's the only difference.
That is true.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I'll tell you what, David, I know that you are a big fan of space. We had some interesting discussions about that during the Elon Musk show that we did.
He's a cool dude, man.
He is a cool dude. He's a cool dude. And we were talking about, on episode in March 2018 on, I can't remember which episode that number that was, 138. We're on episode 192 this week.
Congratulations, by the way. I've been listening to the show for, as you said, since 12. In fact, I listened to it before that. And so
Man, I appreciate
I'm
it.
one of your original fans, and I appreciate the show.
Oh, I appreciate your ongoing support. In fact, I talked a little bit last week with Zach and everybody that, I was kind of joking around, but also kind of serious. I got my 3-year anniversary certificate from Salem Communications last week, because when I fill in for Dave Ellswick, who's he's been on the air around here for about 20 years. He's just in Little Rock, but he's been on the air doing radio much longer than that. I think we're coming up on 50 years in radio for him. In fact, in August, I think it's like 50 years for him, and he does here in the Little Rock area. He's got the Dave Ellswick show on 101.1 FM The Answer from 2 to 6 every Monday through Friday. Well, anyway, when I fill in for him, I need to be a part-time employee of Salem. So they made me a part-time employee to do that. But Shane Plays Geek Talk broadcasts and streams on 101.1 FM The Answer, but it's an independent show. And we've been on the air with Shane Plays Geek Talk for over 4 years now.
In Krypton Radio too. I mean, I helped you do that.
Yeah,
correctly.
You introduced me to Gene Turnbow, and not long after I went on the air in Little Rock, it was 6 months or less, probably less. We started broadcasting also delayed. I go out a week delayed on Krypton Radio on Mondays or Saturdays and Mondays. So, and I enjoy Gene, and, I'm in contact with him every week. So I appreciate that. But yeah, we've been on the air as it were, and I don't know of any. I think I've met one other person. We chatted briefly online, and I can't remember where they're out of Geek Talk Terrestrial FM Radio. In fact, I think, and I'm not dogging AM. I mean, radio's radio, but I think they were AM. And, so I don't know of any other geek. I don't even know of I've heard of people that are in major markets like Dallas, New York, whatever. And they're like, they don't know of any Geek Talk Radio. So I'm not saying I'm the best thing out there. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying.
I'll say that.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm just saying it's cool to do Geek Talk Radio. And we've been on the air for 4 years now. In fact, I guess the reason I didn't even talk about the anniversary this year is I first broadcast, I'm pretty sure it was Saturday, May 31st, 2015. I'd have to go double check that. I know it was the end of May. And, June 1st this year was a Saturday, if I remember correctly. And that's when I would have talked about it. But instead we were having the historic flooding all along the Arkansas River, and the Little Rock, Central Arkansas area was getting a 500-year flood. So I bumped my normal topic and just turned the mic on and started giving out as much information as I could to people listening to try to help. And so that was probably the one episode I've done that wasn't Geek Talk. It was just, I was trying to help out. So that was pretty much my 4-year anniversary being on the air with Shane Plays Geek Talk. But I certainly appreciate your support, David, very, very, very much. You have been there since the beginning, helping to push I forget what the analogy is. It's not pushing the wheel, but everybody puts their shoulders together and pushes, and you've definitely been there with me, and I appreciate that. So, anyway, and it's been wonderful on my end to watch you work on your labor of love, Galaxicus, and now look at the point you're at where you're on Steam and you've got active players and you're getting on people's wish lists, and that's just exciting.
It is. I mean, we're both pursuing our dreams.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about, is pursue your dreams, and that's in our own way. We're doing the same thing.
You are right, sir. Yep. All right. So I've got a couple of news items here that are space related. I thought you might enjoy talking about.
Okay.
And this is, these are older because I have a document where I just collect interesting news stories when I see them. And, I've been collecting these for a space show that I've never quite gotten around to. I did do an Art Bell tribute a few months back. Boy, I'll tell you what, I put that I didn't do it for the hits. I did it because I really love Art Bell, and I wanted to do a tribute to him on the anniversary, roughly the anniversary of his passing away. And I put that on YouTube, and that thing has gone pretty berserk on YouTube. You know,
Wow.
it's Art Bell tribute, UFOs and other weirdness. And so I gave a tribute to Art Bell, and then I did some UFO stories, but I also talked about some weird stuff in Arkansas. And usually most people don't listen to this show on YouTube, but I put it there anyway because it doesn't hurt. And a few people do like to listen to it on YouTube. That thing is like, went off like a rocket, you know, no pun intended. I mean, it's gotten thousands of listens. So you put Art Bell and UFO in a title, and, you know, I wasn't trying to do clickbait. I was actually genuinely surprised that it's taken off the way it has. And I've gotten some nice comments, and, you know, people are like, thank you. You know, they really appreciate art and miss art. But anyway, so here we go from CNET. This is from December 2018. The byline is Eric Mack. Here we go. Astronomers spot quote unquote far out, the most distant object in our solar system.
Okay.
Yup. And it says the small pink world, officially named 2018 VG18, is over 3.5 times more distant from us than Pluto.
Okay.
Yup. So here
it's not quite past the Oort cloud.
Right. It's still technically within the solar system.
Okay.
Yeah. And where's the Van Allen radiation belt or whatever? What am I trying to think? There's some radiation belt that's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's out. We have what they call the Oort cloud, and that goes 100 AU out. And an AU, if you don't know what it is, it's an astronomical unit. It's the same distance from the Earth to the Sun.
Okay.
So we have a cloud. Basically, we're in a bubble, if you want to per se call it a bubble. But our solar system is within a bubble itself, and that's 100 AU in size.
So that bubble sort of defines the limits of our solar system?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, this thing's a lot further out than Pluto, but it's not that far out. So,
okay.
Yeah, so it's still technically within the solar system. So scientists have spotted the most distant object ever discovered in our solar system, or to put it in Big Lebowski terms, it's far out, man, far blanking out. In fact, the team of astronomers that first observed the object have nicknamed it Far Out, although it also carries the temporary and tedious official designation of 2018 VG18. Now listen, I saw Star Trek the Motion Picture. You saw Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Yes.
You don't name weird astronomical stuff with a VG.
No.
It's V'ger. And it's gonna come, and it's gonna whatever it is. What is it that it wants? It's looking for the creator.
Yes.
And it's gonna send the signal, and it's not gonna get the signal back, and then it's just gonna be a big terrible thing. So stop naming astronomical stuff that's weird with a VG, because this is obviously V'ger.
So the funny thing is, I read
right?
is that those same people are the people that created the Borg. If you want a little Star Trek history.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, because V'ger evidently was Voyager whatever, and it was found by some alien entities that were like, oh, well, let's just fix you right up, little guy.
That's right.
Yeah. And then
you have a mission.
Yeah.
And you are too little to do your mission.
Yeah.
And so they made him bigger and powerful and stronger.
Yes, let's go find the Decker unit. Okay,
yes.
So Far Out's obvious moniker comes from the fact that it's over 3.5 times more distant from us than Pluto. It's also more than 3.5 billion with a B miles beyond the second most distant solar system object we know about, which is named Eris. Although we currently know about V'ger is its extreme distance from the sun, its approximate diameter, and its color. Explained co-discoverer David Tholen. Tholians, what is going on here? From the Tholen from the University of Hawaii in a release. Because everything's seen from Hawaii, because that's a great astronomy spot. Because V'ger is so distant.
There's no lights around it.
Yeah, there's none. But we've got Tholians, David Tholen. We got V'ger, we got Tholians. So because 2018 VG18, also known as V'ger, is so distant, it orbits very slowly, likely taking more than 1,000 years around the sun. While it's tough to confirm details at such a distance, the astronomers say its brightness suggests it's a spherical dwarf planet about 500 kilometers or 311 miles wide, or roughly half the size of Ceres, which we were talking before. I think that's one of the moons of like Saturn or Jupiter or something. Like many other icy objects in the far reaches solar system, it also looks to have a pinkish tint. The discovery comes as part of the same team's continuing effort to scour the edge of the solar system for an object that would be even more far out in the sense of the term that made the dude use it so often, a hidden Planet 9 or Planet X lurking in the cosmic darkness. And it goes on to talk about some other stuff, including another distant object nicknamed the Goblin. So next news story here is, and again, I want to remind folks, as a periodic reminder, that this is a family-friendly show. I did not pick out this news item for any immature giggles related to the headline, but this is from BGR.com, and it's Uranus, or Uranus, let's say Uranus. Uranus was slammed by an object twice the size of Earth. This is from December 24th, 2018. So it was reported Christmas Eve by the byline is Mike Weiner. And I'm pronouncing that very carefully. It's been a big year for Uranus. We've learned quite a bit about the planet thanks to new research efforts aimed at explaining why it behaves dramatically different when compared to the other planets in our system. Back in July, we learned that the planet's bizarre rotation, it spins at nearly 90 degrees angle to our solar system's other worlds, was likely caused by some kind of incredible impact a long time ago. Now a new study out of the UK is supporting the collision theory and provides a video of just how such a crash might have looked. You remember years ago, was that in the 90s when Jupiter got hit by that asteroid? Put out those big flashes?
Yes.
Yep. I've heard that Jupiter basically is like this huge shield out there that shields us from all kinds of stuff.
That is one of the most interesting things, that to get an Earth-like planet to be able to support life, you have to have something like Jupiter sucking all of the space debris into it. Right. Otherwise, the inner planets get bombarded.
Right. So it's almost as if by design.
Yes, it is.
And I know a lot of people, they're like, I disagree. Fine. That's not what the Shane Plays is about. We'll move on. So anyone who took high school physics class knows that affecting an object the size of Uranus would take an incredible amount of energy. Using computer simulations, researcher Jacob Kagares of Durham University in Northeast England estimates that the object that struck the planet would have been at least twice the size of Earth. And there's a spectacular, I'll put these in the show notes. There's some, I'll put it over here. You can see the video in the, can you see that in my screen sharing? Yeah. So
good.
It looks like a couple of egg yolks just smashing right into each other and getting fried. So, all right. Collision likely happened very early on in Uranus's development. So it spins weird, because it likely got slammed. Uranus likely got slammed by an object twice the size of the Earth. Okay. And last,
so keep that in perspective. Did you know that Uranus, as you're calling it, is 4 times
very carefully
the diameter of Earth? So yes, it could take an impact of something that big. So it took something to impact to half its size.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And
it's kind of like my dog body slamming me.
Right. Yes.
I understand completely.
But luckily you're not a gas giant. Or hopefully you're not. So, okay. So anyway, there's that. And the last news item this is from comicbook.com, October 2018. Godzilla gets official constellation from NASA. This is by Megan Peters. Godzilla stands as one of Japan's most famous exports, and the kaiju has fans all over the world. So it's just a matter of time until the king of the monsters went to try his luck in space. So if you know any alien fandoms out there, you want to send them to a constellation ASAP. Thanks to NASA, Godzilla has an official constellation. As it turns out, the monster has been assigned a gamma ray constellation. They should have called it the Hulk constellation, and it looks as impressive as you would expect. Godzilla ranks as one of cinema's most famous monsters, and it's among the most recognizable symbols of Japanese popular culture. In the original 1954 movie, nuclear weapons tests disturb the creature's deep ocean habitat and emerges from the sea to wreak havoc On Japan, NASA explains, Godzilla's trademark weapon was its heat ray, a fiery jet. This bears at least a passing resemblance to gamma ray jets associated with black holes and neutron stars, etc., etc. So it says, according to the organization, Godzilla was given this gamma ray constellation because its stars often emit gamma ray bursts similar to the atomic breath the kaiju wields. And it goes on to say that the nerdy background of this constellation has made it a favorite, but it's not the first pop culture gift NASA has given out. In fact, there are gamma ray constellations dedicated to the TARDIS, Starship Enterprise, and the Hulk. There we go. And the Hulk.
Yeah, the Hulk.
Yeah. Is it time Japan gave Son Goku a dedication to? I don't know. All right. So there's
now I've got an image. I think you've seen it and I absolutely love it. It's Godzilla on a planet, and he's taking out a Star Destroyer from Star Wars, and in the foreground is Darth Vader from behind, and he's got his lightsaber down. Like, holy smokes! What am I gonna do now?
What am I gonna do with this? I haven't seen that, but it sounds fun. All right, I'm gonna give some loves to some sponsors. And when we get done with that, we're going to get all the updates on Galaxicus, which is currently available. The 30-day war resetting space conquest MMO Galaxicus, which is now in early access on Steam and on something like 4,000 wish lists. That's pretty cool, man. All right. So throw out some quick show notes, and then I'll give some love to some sponsors. I've already mentioned, of course, we go out as a podcast after the radio show, and that's always archived on the blog at shaneplays.com. That's ShanePlays.com. Last week's show, episode 191, Wild Stars Rising, is out there for your listening pleasure. And this show, if you're listening by podcast or one of the other ways that goes out after the radio show, the show notes will be at shaneplays.com. The podcast goes out on the blog, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Podbean, SoundCloud, YouTube, and more. Shane Plays is also carried on Krypton Radio, as David mentioned earlier. He did make that connection. I appreciate very much. Gene Turnbow and his crew work hard putting out the 24/7 sci-fi internet radio station, Krypton Radio. Krypton Radio is sci-fi for your Wi-Fi, kryptonradio.com. So I want to throw some love at some sponsors here, and then we'll get back to talking to David Baity about Galaxicus and what's new since the last time we've talked to him about his game. First of all, are you a fan of thrilling adventure, daring suspense, and just a touch of romance? Cursova has you covered. Since 2016, Cursova has been publishing the very best in contemporary fantasy and science fiction, retro pulp, and for you D&D gamers, Appendix N style fiction. Based in Little Rock, you can pick up their flagship magazine locally or at Michael Tierney's The Comic Book Store on Treasure Hill Road or Collector's Edition on JFK in North Little Rock. Swing by one of Michael's stores and pick up an issue or find them on Amazon. CIRSOVA, doesn't start with a K, it starts with a C. CIRSOVA, Cursova Magazine. Check them out today. So I want to go ahead and throw out some love to Game Goblins. Some goblins are your friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at GameGoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or GameGoblins.com. Conveniently located 1121 South Bowman, right on the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock, and staffed by friendly employees, Game Goblins has expanded their store size, and there's plenty of room for exciting inventory and tables for play space. You'll like that space because Game Goblins has gaming events every day of the week. For all of your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. Game Goblins earns your business and keeps it. First-time customers mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. tell them Shane Plays sent you. And folks, if you do visit any of my sponsors, please tell them that you hear about them on the show. That helps them know that their advertising money and the relationship we built is time and money well spent. Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays. So let's get back to David Baity, and let's talk about Galaxicus. So we keep teasing Galaxicus. What in the heck? What in the heck is new? We've talked about MegaWars before. It used to be a text-based galactic exploration and conquest game. With the versions you've worked on, both in Silverlight and in Unity, and now in the Galaxicus version, it's visual. It has wonderful 3D visuals. The ships look great. The planets look great. All this stuff looks cool. But it's still the same underlying great space conquest gameplay that people have been doing in MegaWars all the way back since 1984. But now it's under the Galaxicus name and it's graphics based. So early access on Steam right now. What's new, David? What's exciting and new since the last time we talked about your game?
Well, one of the things that's new since we have talked before is we expanded the universe. It's 2,600 times bigger. So it gives us a lot more space. We've added some NPCs to the game itself. So you don't have to do the player versus player. If you just want to come in and we're building some storylines to be able to follow through, some basic quests, that kind of thing. Those are all in works right now. And the goal is to make the game a little more friendly for people that want a good basic game.
Right.
Be able to come in and explore and find people and buy low here and sell high there, that kind of thing. And so that's what we're expanding into, is that kind of capabilities for people to be able to play. And the original concepts are still there. The teamwork, the social aspects, those are all exactly the same, but we've made it a little more friendly for people who want to ease into the game itself to be able to have a good economics game that's fair. And that's one of the biggest things that we're looking for is fairness, where there's no pay to win. In fact, there's nothing to buy right now. And,
right. It's all based, like we talked about earlier. And if people can hear that music, I'm actually in the game. I turned down the volume a little bit so it wouldn't override David. Now I've jumped in. I'm creating my ship.
Yep.
Should I go with my colonies, core, rim, frontier?
Actually, you don't have any your own colonies yet.
Right.
You haven't established anything. So let's start in the core. Now, what's nice about the core is it's a base starting area.
Right.
And we'll get started into that.
Okay. So just choose one of these colonies.
Yep.
I'm going to a region termed M50, or is that S? Okay. M50, and I can go to 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. So I'm going to choose
are the 4 imperial bases that you can start at.
Okay, I'm just randomly going to choose M50.2.C. Here we go.
There you
Off
go.
we'll go. Oh, nice. Yeah. Can you hear that okay? Is that too loud? I want people to hear the game, but I don't want them to be drowned out by the sounds.
I don't have anything over here, so I'm good.
Okay. Well, maybe it's not recorded. Could you hear the music?
I can't hear anything at this end.
Okay. All right. So I'll check. It may not play the music for the whatever. Okay. So I'm just randomly kind of flying around on my ship right now.
Yep.
Which
So
is, yeah.
You right click to move. And
Yeah.
that will fly you. And then you can do the ASW keys
Oh,
to
okay.
be able to move the ship that way also.
Yeah. I remember some of this.
On the top bar up there, you'll notice a warp entry.
Right.
Make sure that is at least above 90%, because there's a gravity well. We've taken.
I see that. The closer you get to the sun,
to the sun,
to the star. Yeah.
Yep.
I see that.
So that basically is there. It's a game mechanic. So if you're attacking someone, they have to be able to get outside the gravity well. And so if you're at your planet protecting it, they can't get too close because they can't just jump out to warp to get away. So
okay.
That
So
kind of thing is there.
How big is the average map? How many star systems are there?
Each region has 2,000 stars in them. Okay. And then you multiply that times 2,600. It's about 2.5 billion light years of space that you can explore.
Right.
Okay.
Which is huge. So
yeah, very large.
And I want to point out that both in the game and on YouTube, there's tutorial information. So like I'm right now, it says space tutorial. I can click on that and get help. And there's multiple. Like if you go to the Galaxicus, Galaxicus Facebook page, or just search on YouTube, there's several tutorial videos.
Yep, we've got some good tutorials up.
And I'd imagine that since this is one of those kind of games where I imagine that the player base will probably want to beat the stuffing out of you in the game, but they're more than happy to help you out of character learn to play the game.
Yes.
Yeah, it's that kind of community, I would imagine. So now with as big as the galaxy is, that's a huge map. So it sounds like it's relatively easy to go find a spot where nobody knows where you're at and try to build up, and maybe even not fight, but just try to win like an economic victory or something. I don't know, but
yes, you can. Yes, you can get out and work on an economic victory. Each of the 2,600 regions will be electing a governor.
Okay. How does that work?
That works basically as I build the economics of my planets in that region. Those planets then give me votes, and I'm compared against the other players in the same region. So if you go out and there's 2 or 3 people in the region, you can gain a governorship title out of that.
Now, is that just a title, or what does that do for you in game?
Well, what that does is that earns you points for the annual invite only War of the Galaxies.
Ah, okay. So there is points. Okay.
Yes. So the ultimate goal is to qualify, gain enough points over a season to be invited to the War of the Galaxy, which takes place at the end of the season. And we will offer prizes. Now, I'm not going to say what those are, but I would like to be able to offer a new Alienware machine.
Right, or something. Right. I understand.
Exactly.
Yeah, the UI here, I just have to say that
it's improved a little bit since you've seen it.
the user interface has really changed and been improved quite a bit. There's a lot of fantastic information immediately, up at the top of the screen. It gives you a lot of information. You can see your planets easily. There's mail, there's missions, there's all this stuff. And, it shows you that percentage of how much gravity do you have on you. In fact, a while ago, just goobering around, I tried to warp and it said, nope, gravity's too high, kiddo. So,
yep.
So there's some interesting, and then there's some stuff at the bottom where you can enter some commands and, see some information on your ship. And then over on the top right, pardon me, the top left, there is a timer, and I'm assuming that's the countdown for the war.
That is correct.
Okay, so I see, what am I seeing here? 14 days, 23 hours, 38 minutes, and 7 seconds. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so every war, every game of Galaxicus that you play lasts 30 days. And that's a literal real-time 30 days, right?
It actually starts on a Friday night. What's interesting about this, we start on Friday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Right.
And that goes until Thursday night, 4 weeks later.
Okay.
And so you get a 24-hour period that you can rest and sleep.
Okay. Yeah. In 1 month, you get 124 hours where you don't have any... like, oh my goodness, because if you log out and go to sleep, somebody can come get your planets, right?
Well, that's what teams are for. Exactly. Yeah. You build up defenses on your planets, but somebody could come along and take. So the goal is to get other people on the team, and they help defend your planets. Right. And we have found you want retirees because retirees don't have a life.
Yeah. And they do. They just have an online life.
They just have an online life. Yeah. And that is what is really unique about our society right now. That whole generation is sitting there online in these games now, and they're not just for young kids to play anymore.
So how many people are and a lot of this has just been people volunteering their time as a labor of love. How many people and is Matthew Weymouth still helping you?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
actually, he's in the background working on some things right now. He's getting us set up for be able to do Twitch streaming and have our
nice
icon as on Twitch itself. So
nice.
He's on the giant bomb right now, setting that stuff up.
Oh, how neat! Okay, so yeah, we did. In fact, we did. I had him on the show a while back talking about his MMO. Which was really cool. So I'll try to link that in the show notes.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Yeah, as the article said, the only game developer in Mississippi, which is hyperbole, but he was trying to get more game development going in Mississippi. So, tell me, we just got a couple of minutes here. What are some other new features or features you want to make sure to highlight?
Well, even though the universe is so big, we introduced the Guardians. The Jump Gate Guardians, and they are like the Imperial bases in the 4 quadrants of each region.
Right.
And they're hidden. You have to find them, but they will link you to the other region. So you can jump across the galaxy in a matter of minutes.
Well, I'm not doing it via a Guardian, but I'm just warping in general, and it looks pretty cool.
Yes.
I'm just kind of warping just to warp, because that's how I roll. I'm just going to warp, baby.
There you go.
Now, so with the galaxy this big, there are also going to be people who are like, I want to fight. So how hard is it to engage in some glorious combat if that's what somebody wants, if that's the way somebody wants to win?
Yep. There's some NPCs in the lower right regions down to the right.
Okay.
And you can jump down. Once you find a Guardian, you can jump to the TO6 designation. It's almost like a spreadsheet, how we've done it.
Right.
A00 is in the lower left corner, and Z99 is in the upper right quadrant, all the way up. So it's just like a spreadsheet. And that's what makes it nice about navigation. You just type in what region you want and then what star, and you get there at that point.
Right. So because it's worth mentioning again, underneath all these really cool graphics, it's still the same command-based game that it's always been, but there's a UI on top of it now. Okay,
exactly.
So, and this is where you're in early access on Steam right now. I assume there's more refinements and features coming. But one thing that you're doing is it you buy the game once and you're good? Because
it's for the first season right now. It's $30.
Right.
And, basically, we're going to go through all of early access and then into the first year with that $30.
Okay.
Okay.
And then what can people expect later as far as, if they like say they're playing 5 years from now, what kind of are they looking at as an investment?
We're still planning on $30 a year, basically.
Just $30 a year. Okay.
Yep. $30 a year. It's a very good value.
That's a great value. Yeah, that's less than
for 700 hours of gameplay a month.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a very good value.
Very good. Okay, tell me one. I gotta bring us to a close.
Yes.
Tell me one thing that's either new or that you don't get to talk about very often that is really exciting you about Galaxicus right now.
It's
like
bringing the players in and watching people's reaction. We had one guy come in. He goes, I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'm having fun.
Well, there you go.
So that's the best.
It's like being a teenager on a really heavy date.
Yes.
So I don't know what I'm doing, but this sure is fun.
Yeah.
Okay. And all we're doing is eating popcorn and watching a movie. It's a family show, people. Family show. All right. Well, I got to show us down Galaxicus, Galaxicus, 30-day resetting war-based space MMO. You can win through galactic. You can win economically. You can win through taking over people's planets. You can get voted a governor. What are the just real super quickly? Just list them off like a bullet list. What are the ways people can win the game?
You just stated them right there. Economically, and then you can do it with power, taking over other people's planets.
Okay.
And you can do it also by capturing regions to where all the people in that region, their votes are forced to you.
Okay. And although there are NPCs that you can engage in combat with and stuff, that you're really competing against other players.
That is correct.
Is what's going on. Okay. I got to draw us down. Folks, Galaxicus, Galaxicus. It's in early access right now on Steam. Go check it out. That $30 gets you a year of play, and that's a great value for an MMO. Okay, so we got to do this real quick, David. And before I forget to tell you, as always, it's been a pleasure having you on, and I'm just really enjoying watching your game grow and continue to succeed. But we've got to close with the bad joke of the week. Are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Why did the vampire need a mint?
Gosh, Lisa's been watching Vampire Diaries. I don't have a clue.
Because he had bat breath.
Yeah, it's a bad one.
I'm not going to apologize. That's a bat one. Okay.
Bad one.
All right, David, as always, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much. And everybody else, we will catch you next week. Well, I'm sure I'll catch David, too, next week on Shane Plays.
V'ger is a child. I suggest you treat her as such.
A child?
Yes, Captain, a child. Evolving, learning, searching, instinctively needing.
Needing what? Spock, this child is about to wipe out every living thing on Earth. Now, what do you suggest we do? Spank it.
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.